Intelligence Officer Kang Minho walked into the bright white room where all the important military leaders sat around a big table. His hands shook a little as he held his datapad. Today he would tell them about the planet called Earth and the creatures that lived there called humans. General Park Sojin looked at him with sharp eyes. She was the most feared leader in the Zephyrian Empire. Next to her sat Commander Lee Jae-sung, who would lead the attack ships. Captain Kim Dae-hai and Lieutenant Choi Hae-won also waited to hear what Minho had learned. "Show us what you found," General Park said in a cold voice. Minho pressed a button and the air above the table filled with moving pictures. The pictures showed strange two-legged creatures with pink skin and hair on their heads. These were humans. "We watched them for many months," Minho began. "These humans are very weak. Look at this." The picture showed humans sitting on soft chairs, eating food from boxers, and staring at flat screens all day. They do not move much. They eat food that makes them fat and slow. Commander Lee laughed. "They look like lazy animals." "Yes, sir." "And watch this." Minho showed more pictures. Humans were running around inside buildings, lifting heavy things up and down, and making loud noises at each other. They do these strange things for no reason. They run nowhere. They lift things and put them down. They make sounds that hurt their throats. Captain Kim shook her head. "What stupid creatures. Why do they waste so much energy? We think they are not very smart," Minho answered. "Look at their fighting." The next pictures showed humans holding metal tubes that made small explosions. Their weapons are very old. They use chemical reactions to throw tiny pieces of metal. Very primitive. The military leaders all nodded. These weapons looked like toys compared to their laser cannons and plasma rifles. "What about their flying machines?" asked Lieutenant Choi. Minho smiled. "Even worse. They use controlled explosions to push themselves through space. They can barely reach their own moon. It takes them days to travel distances we cross in minutes. Their biggest ships are smaller than our fighters." General Park looked pleased. "How many of them are there?" "About 8 billion on their planet," Minho replied. "But do not worry. They are not united. Watch this." The pictures now showed humans yelling at each other, fighting over small things, and doing dangerous activities that often went wrong. They fight each other all the time. They cannot work together. Many of them hurt themselves trying to cook food or perform simple tasks. Commander Lee stood up and walked around the table. "This will be easier than taking candy from their young." "There is more," Minho continued. "They spend most of their time watching other humans pretend to be different people. They sit for hours watching these pretend stories. They cry and laugh at things that are not real. They seem to care more about fake events than real ones." Captain Kim laughed so hard she had to wipe tears from her eyes. "They watch fake stories instead of preparing for war." "What kind of species does that?" "A weak one," General Park said firmly. "What about their leaders?" Minho showed pictures of humans in fancy clothes, talking to groups of other humans. "Their leaders spend most of their time talking. They argue about everything. They cannot make quick decisions. Some of their leaders are chosen by popularity contests instead of military skill." "Popularity contests?" Commander Lee could not believe it. "They choose war leaders based on who is most liked." "Yes, sir. And look at this." The pictures showed human leaders shaking hands, smiling, and eating meals together instead of planning battles. They waste time on ceremonies and parties. They hug each other instead of showing strength. Lieutenant Choi studied the images carefully. "Sir, what about their science? Surely they must have some advanced technology to survive this long." Minho shook his head. "They are still burning fossil fuels for energy. They cut down their own forests. They pollute their water and air. Many of them do not even believe in science. Some think their planet is flat." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. General Park finally spoke. "How many ships will we need to conquer them?" Minho looked at his notes. I recommend 1 destroyer, maybe 2 support ships for cleanup operations. They have no real defenses. Their military seems to spend more time marching in straight lines and playing music than actual fighting. Music? Captain Kim asked. Yes, they have groups of soldiers who only play instruments and sing songs. They waste resources on art and entertainment instead of weapons and armor. Commander Lee nodded slowly. This will be our easiest conquest ever. We will be home in time for the harvest celebration. General Park stood up. Prepare the fleet, but keep it small. We do not want to waste resources on such weak prey. Commander Lee, take only what you need for a basic occupation force. As the meeting ended, all the officers felt confident and excited. These humans would surrender the moment they saw Zephyrian ships in their sky. It would be over before it began. Min-Ho gathered his datapad and smiled. Finally, an easy mission after years of difficult wars. The humans would not even know how to fight back properly. Commander Lee, Jae-sung, sat in his command chair, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. His small fleet of 3 ships moved slowly toward the blue and green planet. He felt bored already. This would be over in a few hours. Sir, we are close enough to send the surrender message, said Lieutenant Choi Haewon from her station. Send it, Lee ordered. Tell them to give up now, and we will be gentle with them. The message went out in simple human language. Lee expected an answer. In minutes. Maybe the humans would cry and beg for mercy. Maybe they would offer him gifts to go away. He had seen it all before with weak species. But no answer came. Sir, Choi said, after waiting 10 minutes. They are not responding. Send it again, Lee said with a small laugh. Maybe they are too scared to think clearly. Again they waited. Still no answer. Pilot Officer Nam Taehan looked up from his controls with worry in his eyes. Commander, I am seeing movement on their planet. Ships are launching. Lee looked at the screen. Tiny dots were rising from Earth's surface. They looked like the primitive ships from their intelligence reports. How many? 50. No, 100. Sir, there are hundreds of them, Lee felt. His first moment of confusion. The reports said humans were cowards who would hide when threatened. Maybe they are trying to escape their planet. Let them run. We only need the planet itself. But the human ships did not run away. They formed groups and moved toward the Zephyrian fleet. Sir? Nam said with a shaking voice. They are coming toward us. Fast. Impossible, Lee muttered. The intelligence reports said human ships were slow and clumsy, but these ships moved like hunting birds. Smooth and quick. Captain Kim Dahai's voice came over the radio from the second ship. Commander, these humans are flying better than our own pilots. How is this possible? Before Lee could answer, alarms started screaming on his bridge. Red lights flashed everywhere. We are under attack, shouted Weapons Officer Park Jin-woo. Multiple contacts firing on us. Lee watched in shock as his screens filled with enemy fire, but this was not the primitive chemical explosions from the reports. These were energy weapons as powerful as their own. Return fire, Lee ordered. His ships fired their laser cannons at the human vessels. Some humans were hit and exploded in bright flashes, but for every human ship they destroyed, 2 more appeared to take its place. Sir, we got one, Nam reported with excitement. Good, Lee said, but his happiness died quickly. The human ships did not run away when their friends were killed. Instead, they attacked even harder. Commander, came another voice over the radio. This was Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo from the 3rd ship. Sir, you need to see this. The human pilot we just shot down. He flew his broken ship directly into our hull before it exploded. On purpose. Lee felt cold fear creep into his stomach. What do you mean on purpose? He could have ejected safely, but he chose to ram us instead. What kind of species does that? Before Lee could think of an answer, more bad news arrived. Lieutenant Choi was reading reports from the surface of Earth. Sir, our ground team has landed near one of their cities. Captain Han Min-soo reports. Unusual resistance. What do you mean unusual? Lee demanded. Choi's face was pale as she read the message. Sir, the humans are not hiding in their homes like we expected. They are fighting back. But sir, ... They are not just using their primitive weapons. They are using everything. They throw heavy objects from tall buildings. They set traps in their streets. They even use their own vehicles as weapons by crashing them into our soldiers. Lee gripped his chair arms tightly. Continue. Captain Han says the humans fight like wild animals. When their weapons break, they use their hands and teeth. When they are wounded, they keep fighting. Some of them explode themselves to kill our soldiers. The bridge fell silent except for the sound of alarms and weapons fire outside. Pilot Nam looked up from his controls with wide eyes. Sir, we have lost contact with Scout Ship 7. What happened to it? It just disappeared, sir. One moment it was there. The next moment, nothing. No explosion. No distress call. Just gone. Communications Officer Beak, UNG suddenly stood up from her station. Commander, I am receiving a message from the humans. Put it on the main speaker. A calm human voice filled the bridge. The words were in perfect Zephyrian language. Attention invading fleet. You have made a serious mistake. Leave now, and we will let you go home. Stay and face the consequences. Lee felt anger replace his fear. How dare they threaten us? We are the mighty Zephyrian Empire. But even as he spoke, more alarms sounded. His tactical display showed that half his small fleet was already damaged or destroyed. The humans had been fighting for less than 1 hour, and they were winning. Sir, Nam said quietly, maybe we should consider retreat. Lee looked around his bridge at the scared faces of his crew. This was not supposed to happen. The intelligence reports promised an easy victory against a weak enemy. Instead, he had found something terrible. These humans were not weak cowards. They were something else entirely. Something dangerous. Dr. Han Soo-jin ran through the damaged corridors of the command ship. Her white coat was torn and dirty from the explosion that had shaken the entire vessel an hour ago. She clutched her datapad tightly against her chest. What she had discovered would change everything. The automatic doors slid open and she burst into the emergency command room. Commander Lee Jae-sung sat at a small table with the surviving officers. His uniform was burned, and his face showed the stress of losing most of his fleet to an enemy that should not have existed. Commander, Dr. Han called out, breathing hard. I know what went wrong. General Park Sojin, who had arrived on an emergency transport, looked up with angry eyes. Half of her invasion force was gone, and she wanted answers. Speak quickly, Doctor. Han placed her datapad on the table and activated the holographic display. Sir, we have been watching the wrong transmissions for months. Lieutenant Choi Haewon, her arm in a medical wrap, leaned forward. What do you mean wrong transmissions? Everything we saw about humans was fake, Dr. Han said, her voice shaking with excitement and fear. It was not real life. It was entertainment. The room fell silent. Commander Lee stared at the doctor as if she had grown a second head. Entertainment. Dr. Han nodded quickly and showed them recordings on her device. Look at this. We thought we were watching documentary footage of human daily life. But these are not real humans doing real things. These are actors, performers. They pretend to be other people for the amusement of other humans. Captain Kim Da-hai, who had barely escaped when her ship was destroyed, looked at the images with confusion. But they looked so real. They were in real places, doing real activities. Yes, but it was all pretend, Dr. Han explained. When we saw humans sitting on soft furniture eating processed food, We were watching something called situation comedies. When we saw them failing at cooking and making mistakes, we were watching shows designed to make other humans laugh. Intelligence Officer Kong Minho, who had prepared the original reports, felt sick to his stomach. Are you saying that everything I reported was fiction? Dr. Han pulled up more data. Not just fiction, but fiction designed to show humans at their weakest and most foolish. We were watching their comedy shows, their romantic stories, and their programs about people failing at simple tasks. Commander Lee stood up and walked to the wall screen. What about their physical activities? The running and lifting heavy objects, athletic competitions and fitness training, Dr. Han replied. What we thought was pointless exercise was actually humans preparing their bodies for combat. Every human we saw running was training to run faster and longer than any Zephyrian soldier. Lieutenant Choi felt a chill run down her spine. The lifting of heavy objects, strength training. They were building muscle mass and bone density far beyond what their natural evolution provided. General Park slammed her fist on the table. What about their weapons? We saw them using primitive chemical propellants. Dr. Han's face grew even more pale. Those were their sporting weapons. Their recreational firearms. Humans have something called hunting and target shooting that they do for fun. We were watching their entertainment weapons, not their military equipment. Captain Kim asked the question everyone was thinking. What do their real weapons look like? Dr. Han showed them new recordings captured during the battle. Energy weapons that could cut through ship hulls. Missiles that could track targets across space. Defensive systems that could stop their most powerful attacks. But how did we miss all of this? Minho asked desperately. Because we were looking in the wrong place, Dr. Han explained. We intercepted their entertainment broadcasts because those signals are sent freely to everyone. But their military communications, their scientific data, their strategic planning, all of that is protected and hidden. Officer Park Jin-woo, who had operated the weapons during the failed attack, looked at the new data with growing horror. Doctor, show them the part about their reaction to danger. Dr. Han switched to a new recording. This is the most important discovery. When we saw humans crying and showing fear in their entertainment programs, we thought they were cowards. But those were actors pretending to be afraid for dramatic effect. What are they really like when threatened? Commander Lee asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. They become more dangerous. Dr. Han replied simply. Fear makes them think faster, move quicker, and fight harder. Pain makes them angry instead of weak. When their friends are killed, they do not run away. They seek revenge. The room stayed quiet for a long moment, as everyone understood what this meant. General Park spoke first. So when we attacked them, thinking they would surrender in fear, ... we made them angry, Dr. Han finished. And apparently, angry humans are the most dangerous creatures in this part of the galaxy. Lieutenant Choi looked at the tactical reports from the battle. The suicide attacks, the impossible flying, the refusal to give up even when losing. All normal human behavior when protecting their home. Dr. Han confirmed. Commander Lee sat down heavily in his chair. We studied their comedy shows and thought we understood their military capabilities. Dr. Han nodded sadly. We learned about humans from their entertainment industry, not their defense forces. It would be like judging our empire's strength by watching our children's puppet shows. The terrible truth settled over the room like a heavy blanket. They had attacked one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy because they had confused their jokes with their reality. Admiral Song Kyung-hwan stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching the alien ships on her screens. The first battle had gone well, but she knew the invaders would try again. This time, humanity would be ready with a plan. Captain Lim Hyojin, she said into her communication device. Are your ground forces in position? Captain Lim's voice came back clear and strong. Yes, Admiral. My soldiers are ready to begin the performance. Admiral Song smiled. The aliens had made a big mistake when they studied human entertainment instead of human warfare. Now humanity would use that mistake against them. Colonel Shin Dong-wook was hiding with his troops in the ruins of a city where the aliens had landed. His soldiers lay flat behind broken walls and inside damaged buildings. They had removed their armor and weapons, making themselves look like scared civilians. "Remember," Colonel Shin whispered into his radio, "act exactly like the people in those old movies. Run around screaming, fall down, look terrified. Make them think we are the weak humans from their intelligence reports." The alien soldiers came marching down the street in perfect formation. They carried large energy weapons and wore heavy armor. Their leader pointed at the humans hiding in the buildings. Through his binoculars, Colonel Shin watched the alien commander give orders to his troops. The aliens spread out, moving slowly and carefully. They expected the humans to run away or surrender immediately. "Now," Colonel Shin whispered. His soldiers jumped up from their hiding places and started running in all directions. They screamed loudly and waved their arms in the air. Some fell down on purpose, pretending to trip over rubble. Others ran directly toward the aliens with their hands up, as if trying to surrender. The alien soldiers relaxed. This was exactly what their intelligence reports had promised. These humans were cowards who panicked when faced with superior firepower. But Colonel Shin's soldiers were not really running away. They were moving into carefully planned positions around the alien force. Every stumble, every fall, every frightened scream was bringing them closer to their hidden weapons. "Phase 2, Colonel Shin said quietly. The terrified humans, who had been running toward the aliens, suddenly dropped to the ground. Hidden beneath the rubble were advanced human weapons that the aliens had never seen before. In seconds, the panicking civilians became a coordinated military unit. The aliens found themselves surrounded and outgunned before they realized what had happened. Their heavy armor, designed to protect against the primitive weapons from the intelligence reports, was no match for humanity's real military technology. In space, Commander Park Manesia was running her own deception. Her fleet of human ships was retreating from the alien reinforcements, but it was not a real retreat. Every human pilot knew exactly where they were going. "Admiral," Commander Park reported over the radio, "the aliens are following us, just like you predicted. They think we are running away in fear." Admiral Song watched the tactical display from her command station. The alien ships were chasing the human fleet in a straight line, trying to catch them before they could escape. The aliens were so confident that they had spread their ships out in a long hunting formation. "Perfect," Admiral Song said. "Communications. Officer Beak, Yoonji, send the signal." Officer Beak pressed a button on her control panel. Across the solar system, hidden human ships received the message they had been waiting for. The alien fleet was flying directly into a trap. Human vessels that had been hiding behind asteroids and moons suddenly appeared on all sides. The aliens found themselves in the middle of a box made of enemy ships. Lieutenant Commander Oh Sang-hoon was monitoring the alien radio communications from his listening post. "Admiral, the alien commander is ordering his ships to retreat, but it's too late. They're surrounded." The aliens tried to fight their way out, but the humans had planned for this too. Every escape route was blocked. Every alien movement had been predicted and countered. On the planet's surface, alien ground commander Vex was becoming desperate. His soldiers were being defeated by humans who had seemed helpless just minutes before. He sent an emergency message to his fleet. "This is Commander Vex. The humans are not what our reports described. They are using advanced tactics and superior weapons. They tricked us into thinking they were weak civilians." But his message never reached the alien ships. Communications specialist Ru Ji-hoon had been jamming their signals from the moment the battle began. Admiral Song watched as the alien fleet tried to regroup. "Captain Lim, begin the final phase." Now the humans stopped pretending to be weak. Their ships moved with precision that amazed even their own pilots. They attacked from multiple directions at once, using mathematical calculations that confused the alien computers. Thought the aliens had expected to fight scared animals. Instead, they found themselves fighting the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Humans who had learned warfare by turning everything into competition. Humans who practiced battle by playing games. Humans who studied strategy by creating entertainment. About conflict. Commander Park's voice came over the radio with excitement. "Admiral, the remaining alien ships are trying to surrender." Admiral Song looked at the tactical display. In less than 2 hours, humanity had turned a planned alien invasion into a complete victory. The aliens who had thought humans were weak and stupid had learned the truth too late. "Accept their surrender," Admiral Song ordered, "but keep our weapons pointed at them. We still have questions that need answers." The battle was over, but the real education was just beginning. Commander Lee Jae-soon sat in the damaged bridge of his flagship, staring at the communication screen. His uniform was torn and bloody. Of the 50 ships he had brought to conquer Earth, only 5 remained. The rest were either destroyed or floating dead in space. Admiral Song Kyung-kwan appeared on his screen. She looked calm and professional, not like someone who had just won a desperate battle. Behind her, Lee could see human officers working quietly at their stations. "Commander Lee," Admiral Song said in perfect Zephyrian language, "I believe we need to talk." Lee felt shame burn in his chest. "You speak our language very well. We learned it from your transmissions," Admiral Song replied. "We have been listening to your communications for months, just as you were watching ours. The difference is that we knew we were studying an enemy. You thought you were watching entertainment." Dr. Jang Dejin, a human scientist, moved into view beside the Admiral. She held a datapad with information about the battle. "Commander, may I ask you something? What did you think would happen when you attacked our world?" Lee looked down at his hands. "We expected you to surrender immediately. Our intelligence said humans were weak cowards who spent their time watching fake stories and eating processed food." Dr. Jang nodded thoughtfully. "You were watching our television shows and movies. Those are stories we create for fun and relaxation. Did your people never consider why we would need so much entertainment about conflict and survival?" "I do not understand," Lee admitted. Admiral Song leaned forward. "Commander, let me explain something about humans. We create stories about danger and war because we have faced real danger and real war for thousands of years. Every monster movie prepares us for the unknown. Every action film teaches us about tactics. Every survival show trains us for disaster." Communications. Officer Beek, Youngji joined the conversation from her station. "When you saw humans running on machines that go nowhere, you thought it was pointless. But we were training our bodies to run faster and longer than any natural predator. When you saw us lifting heavy objects repeatedly, we were building strength that would let us fight in conditions that would kill most species." Lee remembered the intelligence reports and felt sick. "But you seemed so ordinary, so weak." "That was the point," Dr. Jang explained. "We hide our true capabilities because showing them would make other species afraid of us. We prefer to appear harmless until we need to defend ourselves." Captain Kim Da-hai, who had survived when her ship was destroyed, joined the conversation. From the medical bay. Her voice was weak but determined. "What about your weapons?" "Our scans showed primitive chemical projectiles." Admiral Song smiled slightly. "Those are our sporting weapons. We use them for recreation and practice. Humans enjoy testing their skills against targets and each other. But we keep our real military weapons hidden until we need them." Lee thought about the battle and how quickly everything had gone wrong. "Your pilots, they flew better than our best aces. How is this possible?" "Video games," Officer Beek replied simply. Humans spend hours every day practicing complex three-dimensional movement and tactical thinking through entertainment simulations. What you thought was wasted time was actually combat training. Dr. Zhang pulled up data on her pad. Commander, your species made a fundamental error. You judged us based on how we relax, not on how we fight. You saw us watching stories about heroes facing impossible odds and thought we were dreamers. You should have asked why every human story involves someone fighting against superior forces and winning through cleverness and determination. Admiral Song's expression grew more serious. We know you were not the real threat, Commander. You were sent here by leaders who believed false information, but now you have seen what humans are really capable of. What will you tell them when you return home? Lee looked around his ruined bridge at his surviving crew members. They all waited to hear his answer. I will tell them the truth, that we attacked a species far more dangerous than ourselves. That we mistook their entertainment for intelligence about their capabilities. And what else? Admiral Song pressed. Lee was quiet for a long moment. I will tell them that humans are not cruel conquerors. You could have destroyed all my ships and killed everyone aboard. Instead, you disabled our weapons and offered medical aid to our wounded. You fought only as hard as necessary to protect your world. Dr. Zhang nodded approvingly. That is also part of human nature, Commander. We prefer not to kill when we can avoid it, but we will fight to the death to protect our home and our people. Admiral Song stood up from her chair. Commander, you and your surviving ships are free to leave, but I want you to carry a message to your empire and any other species that might be watching. What message? Lee asked. Tell them that Earth is protected by a species that has spent 10,000 years learning how to survive against impossible odds. We have faced ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and wars that would have destroyed weaker peoples. We turned all of that suffering into stories, games, and entertainment, because that is how we process trauma and prepare for future challenges. Admiral Song's voice became firm and clear. Tell them that if they judge humanity by our movies and television shows, they will make the same mistake you did. Do not mistake our entertainment for weakness. Mistake it for what it really is. Evidence that we have survived everything the universe could throw at us. And we are still here, still learning, still preparing for whatever comes next. Lee nodded slowly. I understand, Admiral. I will make sure they know. As the communication ended, Lee gave orders to his surviving ships to leave Earth's system. As they flew away, he looked back at the blue and green planet that had taught him the most important lesson of his military career. Never judge a species by how they choose to relax.